Gene Kelly with us. Gene Kelly is the author of The College Myth, educational thought leader. He's an entrepreneur, an author, and a speaker, and a Napa Valley winery owner. And we're going to talk about college, good or bad. Hey, Gene, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. We're on this subject because I'm really passionate about this. We're trying to make a difference and save families' futures, children's futures,
Sure.
and parents' retirements and everything else by realigning the thought on this.
Yeah. By the way, 100 years ago, when I was in high school, maybe 150 years ago, we had wood shop, we had auto shop, we had metal shop, we had those things. So if you were not going to college, ongoing and continuous education, you had something that would prepare you to go out into the world and work. They don't have that today. And you're forced into college, and if you go to college, it's going to cost you 20 grand anyways, minimally. And what happens if you drop out of college? You still have the loan, that $7,000 to $12,000 loan that you got 10, 15 years later. If you don't pay it, could end up to be $20,000.
Well, and Michael, those numbers are really low. Even you're spot on, but they're really low. Here's what happened: you remember No Child Left Behind?
Sure.
We had this idea in this country that everybody needed to go to college, whether they thought they needed it or not. And we're going to one size fits all, going to push everybody that direction. It seemed like a good idea at the time because everybody was going to be a knowledge worker. We're going to rule the world because we're the smartest people around, knowledge workers. The little thing called the Internet came along. And all of a sudden, those knowledge workers are competing with people, billions of people around the world that speak multiple languages, have a couple degrees, and are willing to do the same work for $7 an hour.
Sure.
Now, I don't know who wants to compete with that.
Well, by the way, let me hold you up for a minute. You're spot on. Not only is it there, look at the different businesses that are closing up today, going to Ireland, going to the different countries, because they can't afford the taxes, they can't afford this, they can't afford the competition. And there's where the problem is.
Well, we've got an exciting opportunity, though, here in this country that not enough people are talking about yet, and that is with the low-cost energy that we have in the United States now throughout the upper Midwest, that there are many companies wanting to onshore their manufacturing because it's cheaper for them without the transportation and higher quality with American workers, but they can't find them. There's like 300,000 jobs right now going unfulfilled in the trades. And, you can outsource some of your knowledge worker stuff, but who's going to fix your plumbing, your roads, your infrastructure, and so on? You can't outsource that to India. It needs to be done here.
Sure.
So this is a huge gap we have, and that's why I wrote the book, The College Myth, Why You Shouldn't Go to College If You Want to Be Successful. And by the way, I'm so passionate about this, you can go buy the book on Amazon, or you can go get a free download of it on the website at thecollegemyth.com. So this is what, my passion is. I took a different route in life. I went through one of those trade schools. I ended up owning a manufacturing company. I've got multiple things I've done. I've been very successful. And as you say, I've got a winery and a vineyard here in the Napa Valley now, too. You don't need to go one size fits all. Now, I am not against higher education. Let me be clear about that. Life should be about learning continuously throughout your life. But they're not getting the job skills that they need when they walk away with those degrees. And I tell them, it's in the book, but I tell prospective employees that there's only three things an employer really wants to know. And that is, what do you know that's applicable to my job? Number two, what have you done, experience? And number three, most important, what can you do for me? And a lot of these people think, well, I spent $200,000 on my paper, and now somebody should offer me a good job. And that's just not the way it works. And the numbers are scary. A private university here in California is $250,000 for 4 years. The average student time that they go through most schools in the United States, the average cross country, is over 5.7 years. Now, to get a BA, they could have been making money during that time. They could have been investing. I have one friend. He only went through high school, did automotive, ended up owning a couple automotive shops, started buying real estate, ended up owning car dealerships, and the man probably owns 100 houses in the Napa Valley. I mean, that's worth a fortune. it's about the drive and the individual being responsible, taking, responsibility for their actions and their own education. So that's why the book is out.
Yeah, let me jump in with this because I think it's extremely important with what you're saying. If you look at the kids that are going to college now, a great percentage of them, when they're through with college, they're back home again because they can't get a job and they can't afford to live on their own. Who's working? The plumbers, the carpenters, the electricians. All of these men and women are working. And the other ones who went to college didn't, because I think college there's got to be dollars behind it, because somehow this impetus to go to college was motivated by something. It wasn't the kids, it wasn't the parents, it had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, and it's gone up over 2,000% in the last 30 years. Yeah. And those debt levels are just astronomical. And what's happening is not only the kids coming back home and feeling kind of defeated because they thought after 4 years they'd have that great job. So a lot of them are actually, they feel some of these trade jobs are beneath them, which is just wrong thinking.
Sure. And
good paying jobs, and they're satisfying jobs. And the second thing is because of this debt, they're delaying, buying cars, they're delaying starting families, and getting married, and buying a house, and all the things that they should be doing in their 20s and 30s and early 40s. They're delaying all that. And on top of all that, the parents who just went deeply in debt to fund this education are delaying their retirements. So, it messes up like the whole curve. And it's all bad money. And, you can get a college loan if you got a pulse. Do you remember when it was the same way in the housing market? Yeah. And what happened? It all collapsed. And that was because the government said everybody ought to own a house in America, even those that can't afford it.
Yeah, but the biggest part of the collapse, and by the way, I totally agree with you. There were people who owned homes that should have owned homes. There were organizations that went to the banks and went to the bankers' homes and demonstrated so they would make loans to certain people. But the problem with it is they took the loans and individually they packaged them up to 7 or 8 loans and they sold them for a profit. Those people who bought those packaged those packages up, sold it for a profit, and it went on 3 or 4 or 5 times later. So that home that they've got in there for $800,000 or $900,000, $1 million is really only worth $100,000. So when it crashed, they were left with nothing. Yep.
But my point is, it was all driven by access to easy money.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now with college. People can get a loan to fund an education that may not be a good investment just by signing on the dotted line. And right now, they can't charge those loans off even in bankruptcy. So, and that's not legal advice, but that's what my understanding is.
Sure.
So you need to, really look at what is it you're trying to achieve. Now, I also I'm not just a person that brings a problem to the table. I also create a solution. And we have a company, the Accelerated Technical Training Institute, where we teach job skills, real job skills, welding, electrical, plumbing, so on, through a process of distance education and hands-on home study that is only thousands of dollars, not hundreds of thousands of dollars for all these skills. And they're lifetime skills. When you need to know how to do this stuff, you're not going to be a victim of someone taking advantage of you in your home or, redoing something. You know what should be done, even if you don't do it yourself. And so those skills that you were talking about that have been ripped out of the high schools and the community colleges, we're training those at both an entry and an advanced level, but through a modern accelerated process using video instruction. So for every hour of what would normally be a classroom, you get 5, 10, 15 minutes of real instruction and sharing it with 20 other people. Here, it's accelerated and compressed so that you're getting full knowledge and instruction. And then if there's any technical questions, you communicate with the instructor over the internet and over the phone. So, it's really changing the whole paradigm of how these skills are taught. That's part of our goal, and that's part of my mission. But the first is to at least alert everyone that the social pressure of going and getting in debt over getting a piece of paper isn't right for the vast majority of people. I'm not saying it's wrong for everybody. Someone that knows clearly they're going to be a doctor or an attorney or something like that, fine. But this is an expensive place to go and just play around and figure out, what I want to do.
Yeah.
You need to have a purpose, and it's good to be working there your own way toward that.
But very important also, Gene, that you got to have somebody symbolically holding your hand. Because you want to do something doesn't necessarily mean that you automatically, innately have the skills to do it. You don't. So you've got to have people who know what to do that you can follow. We all need mentors.
Right, and that's what we provide is, well, first off, I talk about it in the book, the different skill sets. The book goes well beyond just don't go to college.
Yeah.
In fact, it helps you make that selection yourself and also offers a number of other potential opportunities for you to go to other directions, ideas, paths that have worked, some that have worked for me in particular that I've been successful in. So, like I said, I'm passionate enough about it. I'm giving away the book as a free download at thecollegemyth.com. Then go and get it and learn from it and invest in their own education, starting with doing some research there. But anyway, this is obviously I get wound up about this because I really feel that America has been kind of hoodwinked over this. The social pressure is intense among high schoolers and their peers, parents. Parents feel like they're bad parents if they can't provide an Ivy League education, and that's not true. So there are other paths. That's what we're talking about. And again, there's other solutions, and if they want to learn about those trade skills, they can go to instanttradeskills.com, and they'll learn about that path as well. In fact, there's actual courses that they can take there. So that's instanttradeskills.com.
And see, all of this is, Gene, let me just jump in just for a second because I think it's extremely important. I'm listening very closely to you, and everything that you've said, you're spot on. What's underneath it is all of these are learned, I won't call them skills, but learned behaviors. Let's call them behaviors. And if you can learn something, you can unlearn it and relearn. We've been driven towards this end result. We have been taught that this is the way to go. And when somebody goes that way and they end up that much in debt and they're back at home and they're totally dependent, which is an interesting word, then all of a sudden you've got more and more people depending upon the government to be able to take care of them. And that is one of the reasons behind all of this, without being a conspiracy theorist, which I'm not. I'm a pragmatist. So when it really comes down to it, you have to look at which way we're being driven. Driven is the word here.
Well, and I think the people driving the bus that direction, even though I believe they're driving it off a cliff, many of them truly believe they're doing the best thing. But what they're not willing to do is stop for a moment, smell the coffee, and really analyze the outcomes. In a business, you have to, because otherwise you're out of business, and that's what wakes you up. Government, they can keep going the wrong direction for a long time, and even generational, and still keep going. It just gets worse and worse and worse. You know, they say one of the problems when you find yourself you're digging a hole, step one, stop digging.
Yeah, no,
we haven't
absolutely.
figured that one out yet in this
very,
country.
very quickly, because we're starting to run out of time. I want to touch on where'd it go? I lost it. All right,
well, I'll just plug the book one more time if you don't mind.
Well, go ahead.
While you're thinking of that, they can get the free download at thecollegemyth.com. So they actually spell out the word "the," then collegemyth.com. And then the other one was the instanttradeskills.com for courses on how to learn electrical, plumbing, welding, machining, locksmithing, masonry, carpentry, and so on.
That's where I was going. I couldn't find the name of it.
Okay.
The trade. Okay, now, by the way, one more time, please, with the website, and we're good.
Sure. thecollegemyth.com for a free download of the book, or if they want to buy a copy of the book, go to Amazon. It's available. They can purchase it there. Or if they're interested in learning about trade skills, go to instanttradeskills.com. Instanttradeskills.com.
That's the
and
one I
you'll
was
learn
after.
about courses they can study at home.
Wonderful. And we would love to have you back on.
Hey, Michael, it'd be great.
Okay, take care, and thank you for being here. Bye-bye.
You got it. Bye-bye.